Can you believe that in How to Train Your Dragon, a Viking kid, who's supposed to kill dragons, ends up befriending and riding one? Yeah, that happened. And not just any dragon, the Toothless, the most rebellious and misunderstood dragon on the planet. Now, let's dive into this wild tale where Vikings are supposed to be slaying dragons, and yet, Hiccup, the son of the Viking chief, is out here teaching dragons to do tricks like they're puppies. But first, let's answer the most important question: why would you want to train a dragon? So, How to Train Your Dragon is set in the world of Berk, a small, cold island where the Vikings are constantly fighting off dragons, and their entire livelihood revolves around slaying these creatures. It's all pretty normal until Hiccup, the son of the fierce Viking leader, Stoik the Vast, shows up. Here's the thing, though, Hiccup isn't your typical Viking. He's tall, awkward, not much of a fighter, and a little too clever for his own good. He's pretty much a walking disaster. One day, during a dragon attack, as usual, Hiccup decides to try and take down a Night Fury, one of the most mysterious and deadly dragons in the world. His big plan to catch it involves some bizarre contraption, and it ends up working. He hits the Night Fury and gets it trapped, but instead of killing it, he does something completely unexpected: he sets it free. What? So Hiccup becomes this huge drunken sensation in Viking land, right? No one knows that he's actually befriended the dragon. I mean, can you imagine the drama? Everyone's expecting Hiccup to be a dragon-slaying hero, and he's out here having tea parties with dragons and talking about the magic of friendship instead of fighting for glory. Of course, no one believes him when he talks about bonding with dragons, and it's up to him to prove that these creatures aren't mindless monsters. But let's talk about Toothless, the dragon. Now, you'd think a dragon would be the size of a small house and have fiery breath that could melt the skin off your bones. But nope, Toothless is different. He's sleek, mysterious, and very moody, not the blazing menace everyone assumes. In fact, Toothless is one of the most adorable dragons you've ever seen. He's like a mix of a dog, a cat, and an angry puffball, and he's fast, smart, and knows how to pull off a tantrum like you wouldn't believe. But here's where things start to get interesting. Hiccup, instead of treating Toothless as a threat, starts teaching him tricks. It's the classic a man's best friend situation, but with dragons. This entire sequence of training the dragon could have gone wrong in a million ways, but somehow, it's hilarious and heartwarming. Hiccup teaches Toothless to fly and sync with him, which is one of the coolest scenes in the movie. I mean, we're talking about a dragon soaring through the sky like a majestic aerial ninja. And Hiccup? Well, he's riding shotgun, and let me tell you, that's a ride of a lifetime. And here's the thing, throughout the story, everyone's getting this completely wrong idea that Hiccup is the worst Viking ever because he's not killing dragons. But it turns out, Hiccup is actually the only one who has figured out that dragons are not inherently evil. They've just been misunderstood, just like Hiccup. And, let me tell you, when that realization hits, it changes everything. So, Hiccup starts doing what any rebellious teenager would do: he gets his own dragon army. Okay, not really, but he does convince his fellow Viking trainees to join him in learning how to train the dragons. Instead of fighting them, they learn how to bond with them, and they actually start training these wild beasts to fly with them. But don't get it twisted, this isn't Dragon Whisperer 101. They fight, crash, and have absolutely no idea what they're doing. It's pure chaos, but it's the kind of chaos that leads to victory. Meanwhile, the evil dragon leader, the Red Death, is looming on the horizon, and the stakes have never been higher. The big battle arrives, and it's time for Hiccup to prove himself. In an epic showdown, he has to fight the giant dragon using his newly learned dragon taming skills. It's intense, and just when things seem like they're going to be totally destroyed, Hiccup comes up with this brilliant plan: he's going to fight with Toothless, because, surprise surprise, the dragon isn't just a pet, it's his ally, and they work together. But wait, here's the big question: how did Toothless become so loyal? I mean, this is a dragon, one of the most terrifying creatures on the planet, and it's essentially like a giant, scaly puppy now. What makes Toothless decide that he's got Hiccup's back through everything? Is it the snack rewards? The epic flying sequences? Or is it just a dragon's natural tendency to support the underdog? And at the end of the day, when the whole village is finally celebrating this strange bond between humans and dragons, we get the revelation that Hiccup's dad, Stoik, finally accepts that maybe dragons aren't all bad. Finally. Hiccup doesn't need to be the slayer his dad wanted. He's the one who understands dragons, and that's enough to change everything. But, here's where I have to ask, does Hiccup ever fully escape the shadow of his dad's expectations? Will dragons and humans ever completely coexist without some kind of fight breaking out every now and then? Because let's be honest, this is just the beginning of a long journey, and, in the sequels, we definitely see that the dragons and the Vikings have a long way to go in figuring this whole piece thing out. And let's not even get started on the other movies, because they just keep getting better, with more dragons, more flying, and Hiccup maturing into a legendary chief who redefines what it means to be a Viking. But one thing's for sure, Hiccup and Toothless? They're like the ultimate duo, a kid and his dragon, figuring things out, saving the world one dragon at a time. So, yeah, how to train your dragon. It's not just about training dragons. It's about training your heart to trust, to be brave, and to see the world from a different perspective. Oh, and don't forget the fish-stealing dragons. Because that never gets old.